Now, one thing I noticed, I went to an art gallery a couple years ago, and I noticed these paintings were really, they were religious paintings done back in the 17th century. And I noticed that they were just had this really cool quality to them. They seemed to sparkle. They had kind of this really brilliant, translucent color to them. And they had almost, I won't say, it looked like they had glitter on, but they weren't obviously glitter on them. And so I tried to figure out what was it that the artist did to make those paintings, their colors so luminous and have this little sparkle to them. And I looked at the little description below, and it said they were painted on sheets of copper. I thought, wow, what a cool idea. And so I happened to have a student that year also did a lot of abstract work on, and this is what he would do. He would create a texture with the plaster and build in kind of a design, and then cover it in sheets of aluminum foil, okay, which is really cool. So I'll show you how to do that, okay? So to do that, what you're going to need to do is first you're going to create your texture, or if you want it to be flat and smooth, you don't have to put a texture down. You can just put this directly onto the board itself, okay? But what you'll need to do is once this is dried completely, you'll need to get some of this stuff here. It's a high-strength spray adhesive, okay? Now, this stuff can be really quite dangerous because anything you spray it on will be covered in a really sticky goo that you can't get off. So when you do this, I want you to go outside the back door here and do it outside, okay? If you get it on the desks, you run the risk of getting it on somebody else's artwork and getting it all over yourself, all over your clothes, and it won't come out. Okay, so please make sure you're really careful with this stuff. I'm going to spray it really quick over the garbage can here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But you will want to shake it up. Okay, so shake it up real good. Hopefully this can's still good. Looks like I got to clean off the tip here just a little bit. So check to make sure that the can is going to work for you. Sometimes it spits. Yeah, see, this one's not going to spray very good. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to hold it over the garbage can. And again, to be on the safe side, you can put a little extra on there and it won't hurt it, okay? But if you shortchange it where you don't spray enough on there and you get a spot where there's no glue, you're going to have this little bubble in your work, okay? Now, I have a couple different types of foil you can work with. I've got some copper, some brass, and then one side is silver, okay? This is a little bit thicker, so this doesn't work very well on the plaster surfaces. What works best is the aluminum foil from the boxes here because it's really, really thin. Okay, so I'm going to tear off a little sheet. And you simply let this dry for a little bit. It's got to get a little tacky for it to stick. So give it a few seconds, maybe a minute or two after you spray it so it has a little bit of tackiness to it before you put it down. And then you can just simply lay the foil into it. Okay? Now aluminum foil will stretch and expand. And so the idea is you're going to place it here, start in the middle, and kind of work your way out. You can see I've got extra on the sides here. I'm going to go and cut off the extra piece that I don't really need. So that's out of the way. Okay, and then this is going to take you some time, but you take your finger works best and you just rub it. You just keep rubbing it in there so that the foil then stretches to recreate the texture that you put underneath it with the plaster. And it's kind of neat because it looks like a little geographic map of. But it's really neat because it then recreates that texture onto your surface or onto the metal there. It kind of evens it all out. But you got to go over the whole thing, and you've got to rub it in all the way, okay? You just got to keep working it until it goes into all those little pockets. If you don't, you'll get little spots that the foil doesn't stick to the board, and so you run the risk of it being torn later on when you're drawing on it or you're working on it or you just stack stuff against it. You want to make sure that it all sticks really well to the board, so there's no spots that are not attached. Okay, you just got to rub it in really good. It does blacken your fingers out a little bit, so you want to make sure you wash your hands when you're all done. You can take a piece of cloth and do it over. Take a piece of cloth like this and do it this way. It's not quite so hard on your fingers, but yeah, but that's what you do. Okay, then you can take. And you can start to work on top of this, okay? One thing you can use, I've got lots of different acrylic paints that you're welcome to use. They're just sitting on the counter there. Make sure you grab the correct ones. They're in the tall bin. If you guys look on the counter for a minute. Guys, Ethan, if you look on the counter over there, you'll see that tall counter, or that tall box right next to the wooden cabinet. That has the acrylic paints. The shorter one, right behind where Gavin's sitting, is the oil paints. Don't use those, okay? Oil paints will take forever for you to dry. Acrylics will dry really, really quick, okay? So then what you can do is simply take your paints, and you can paint on the surface. Get some red and some blue out. So I can take my paints. If I get it really wet, just spread some paint across this here. And this is what he would do, is he would actually use different stains. This student that I had, he would use different wood stains and put them on really thick into the surfaces that he created, and then let them dry. And as they started to dry, you can see that they start to pool in the little valleys that you create, and the color is more intense in there, but you get these really cool little lines over here. So you can let this dry a little bit if you wanted to. Once it's dry, if you want to rub it to get off some more paint off of the surfaces there, to bring out even more of the metallic textures and colors in there. But it's a real fun way to work. It creates a lot of depth and dimension in your work. Okay?